All right, I'm going to try to do this in a succinct manner, although there's a lot to digest here. First of all, do I know that there are princes of nations that are fallen angels, demons? No, I utterly reject that idea. The fact that the doctrine that there are beings like Gabriel who were in heaven at one point in time and were led in rebellion against God is um, largely Catholic mythology. There's a little bit of Enoch written in there, which is an uninspired book, and then a lot of misunderstanding of the book of Revelation, which I'm a partial preterist, so take that for what it means to you. Um, Daniel 10:13, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me. The person talking is an angel at this time, and it withstood 1 and 20 days, but lo, Michael. And here the King James says one of the chief princes. If you get into the Hebrew, or well, no, this would be Aramaic. If you get into the original language here, it's the chief one of the princes. It's the head of the prince. This is the very same person we see, the chief of the hosts that Joshua meets up with in, I believe, Joshua chapter 6, that he bows down and worships. Michael is the pre-incarnate Christ. We'll see him again in Daniel chapter 12. We see him again in Revelation chapter 12. So it's not one of the chief princes. It is the chief one of the princes. He is the head of all of the princes. And so it's basically Gabriel got help from Christ incarnate. And when we talk about the Prince of Persia or the King of Persia withstanding an angel, we don't necessarily mean in combat. That's not really something that men can do to angels. But just as we can withstand the Holy Spirit, we can resist His call. We can resist His counsel. We can resist God. We can resist Christ. We have been given that free will to do that. And so I believe here you have the king of Persia as being asked to do something and is not convinced. And so God the Son has to come in and help with that conflict. And so to make this all about this, I know Michael Heiser made it really popular to have this kind of Dungeons and Dragons style pantheon and all of these lesser gods and all this make believe stuff kind of have a biblical veneer to it. There's no actual demand for that by the scriptures anywhere. It just doesn't exist. You have Satan, you have demons, you have God, you have angels. They don't mix. There was never a time where they were unified or anything like that. You have books of symbols like Revelation, and taking them literally is just bad hermeneutics. So getting into Lucifer fell from heaven. So if you read that context there in Isaiah 14, it talks about the king of Babylon striving and climbing and trying to make himself like God. And he sets himself up to be a leader in, like Pharaoh and some of the others, proclaims himself to be a god. And so in apocalyptic languages, like we see in Isaiah and Daniel and Ezekiel, the idea of heaven is the sphere of government influence. So, like when we talk about the sun and the moon in Genesis 1, the greater light would rule the day and the lesser light would rule the night. You have this association of heavenly bodies with authority. And then you have in Joseph's dream, the sun, moon, and the stars that bow down to Joseph. You again have authority figures in Joseph's life that Jacob immediately recognized. And all throughout the books of Moses, the books of history, all throughout Hebrew literature that is inspired, you see these references of the sun, moon, and stars being taken out of their rightful place because a nation is being judged. And so when we get to the New Testament, the same thing is going on. You see the sun is being darkened, the moon is turning to blood, The stars are falling from heaven, all that kind of stuff. That's just government authorities being removed from power. So Lucifer, this king of Babylon, this day star, or son of the morning, had been given this kingship by God, and he tried to take more than was his. He tried to declare himself a god. He tried to gain the authority that was God's alone to have, and he was cast down for it. And so that idea of him falling from heaven is the king just falling from power. To associate him with Satan, especially as an individual being in a literal sense, is silly. There's just no grounding for it. It's just all mythology, and it's just been around for hundreds of years as mythology, and so people just believe it. They don't ever challenge it. Most people, I think, would really, really struggle to look at this in a critical sense, because that's what they've always been taught. So this idea of Lucifer was clearly a picture of Satan, especially one of Satan at the very beginning in Genesis. No, Lucifer and Genesis 1 through 3 are not associated at all. There's no association at all of Lucifer. Lucifer's only used one time in the Old Testament. The Eos Phosphorus, or the Hallel in the original text, is only there in Daniel chapter 10. And to try to say that somehow Lucifer is connected because of another random reference to an angelic being. Sorry, now I've got a helicopter flying over. But an angelic being in Eden, again, and a very symbolic text. It's just, you're stringing a bunch of stuff together with no cause and effect relationship. There's no logical attachment here at all. It's just not reasonable to draw these conclusions. They're not demanded. And then again, Revelation, again, I'm a partial preterist. Revelation 19 through 20 has nothing to do with the end of time in a literal sense. It has to do with the end of the age, which was the Jewish age, which was the second age, and now we're in the third age, which is the Christian age. So anyway, this is less than 10 minutes, so hopefully I covered everything, and this is a complex thing, and so if we continue on with attempting to have this discussion, we may have to either go into some kind of a one of those rooms that X has, or maybe a discussion on Discord or something like that, and we can record it and put it up on our respective YouTube channels or something. But that's my response.